Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Grossu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The next World Youth Day will be held in Seoul, South Korea in 2027. This was announced by Pope Francis at the Angelus in Campo de Graça in Lisbon on August 6 after the commissioning Mass of World Youth Day.
Y la próxima Jornada Mundial de la Juventud tendrá lugar en Asia. Será en Corea del Sur, en Seoul.
The Holy Father said World Youth Day will now move from the western periphery of Europe to the Far East, demonstrating the universality of the Church. Pope Francis exhorted young believers to shine, to listen, and not to fear during the homily he gave at Campo de Graça in Lisbon, marking the end of the World Youth Day gathering. The Mass was attended by 1.5 million young believers, and it was celebrated by 700 bishops and 10,000 priests from different countries. On the flight back to Rome from his Apostolic Journey to Portugal for World Youth Day 2023, Pope Francis spoke to journalists on a range of issues, including his health, silent prayer for peace in Fatima, and that the Church is open to everyone, even those who are unable to receive certain sacraments. The Holy Father also discussed his thoughts on World Youth Day, which he attended for the 4th time as Pope. He called the turnout in Lisbon impressive, citing estimates that as many as 1.4 million people attended the vigil on Saturday night. The Pope offered the journalists a short message of thanks for World Youth Day coverage and greeted journalist Rita Cruz on her birthday present on the flight. Senior Ukrainian officials said on Sunday that progress had been made in negotiations in Saudi Arabia to end the country's war with Russia peacefully, while Moscow referred to the gathering as a failed attempt to rally the global south behind Kyiv. The Jeddah negotiations, which concluded on Sunday, involved more than 40 nations, including China, India, the United States, and several European nations, but not Russia. The evacuation of all Russian soldiers and the return of all Ukrainian land to its authority are among the ideas that Ukraine and its allies seek to serve as the cornerstones of peace. These ideas were the focus of the negotiations, according to Ukraine and its allies. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said he wants a global summit to take place based on those principles later this year. In a newly published interview with Catholic Daily in Spain called Vida Nueva, the Holy Father has confirmed that Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, the Vatican's special representative for peace in Ukraine, will shortly travel to China. The Pope described Zuppi's Beijing stopover as part of the Vatican's peace mission, which has included visits to Kyiv, Moscow, and Washington, D.C. The power of the gospel is for everyone, the Pope added, underscoring the need for the Church to engage in communication with all. This message emerged as a major topic during Pope Francis's recent trip to World Youth Day in Portugal. The Holy Father said he is also considering appointing a permanent representative to serve as a bridge between Russia and Ukraine. Fresh incidents of violence erupted in the northeast Indian state of Manipur's Langol area on Saturday. Miscreants set on fire at least 15 houses in the area. On Saturday, the Impel Valley experienced a state of immobilization due to a 24-hour mass strike initiated by the Coordination Committee representing 27 assembly seats. The army launched multiple operations in the Impel Valley and seized arms. The Manipur police said it has so far recovered 1,195 looted arms from different parts of the state. The incident comes a day after 3 people were killed by unidentified men in Manipur's Bishnupur district on Friday night. According to available reports, the ethnic violence that broke out in the northeastern state of Manipur in India nearly 3 months ago has killed over 160 people and injured hundreds. Christian Charities in the UK is urging the government to reinstate its overseas aid funding to save hundreds of thousands of lives that are in danger. It said the UK overseas aid cuts betray the world's most marginalized. Ministers have previously warned that major cuts to the foreign aid budget could lead to an increase in poverty, hunger, and possibly global mortality. The International Development Committee has voiced concerns about the potential collapse of some projects, notably those that aid women and children. The budget for the department's overseas development assistance for this year would be reduced by more than 900 million euros. A federal judge temporarily blocked a new Illinois law that targets pregnancy resource centers, saying it violated free speech. U.S. District Judge Ian Johnston called the law painfully and blatantly a violation of the First Amendment. The Deceptive Practices of Limited Services Pregnancy Centers Act, which Governor J.B. Pritzker signed on July 27th, allowed the state attorney general to take action against pregnancy resource centers that were deemed to be employing so-called deceptive tactics to persuade pregnant women who visit them to avoid abortions. The UK police has pressed criminal charges against Adam Smith Connor, a Southampton Army general, for praying quietly within a buffer zone outside an abortion facility. Connor had gone to the British Pregnancy Advisory Service's Bournemouth clinic to pray for his unborn son, who had died in an abortion more than 2 decades ago. The Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Poole Council filed criminal charges against Smith Connor on May 12, 2023. Connor's legal team, Alliance Defending Freedom UK, said their client would appear in Bournemouth Magistrates Court on August 9th to submit a not guilty plea. It was also reported that Connor received a fine for praying outside an abortion facility in a similar incident in 2022. While the police and courts have stated that silently praying is not a crime in other settings, ADF UK's legal counsel, Jeremiah Igunoble, said that the BCP Council has instituted a rights-restricting censorship zone that now includes a prohibition on silent prayer. 3 extraordinary individuals who have dedicated their lives to working for pro-life activities have been recognized with the People of Life Awards, a prestigious distinction bestowed by the U.S. bishops. This year, the award was given to Peggy Hartshorn, the board chair of Heartbeat International, a network of pro-life pregnancy resource centers in the United States. Aurora Tinajero, a pro-life advocate and radio host based in Texas, and Dr. Catherine Mosley, a clinical bioethicist, pediatrician, and neonatologist who died in June 2023 at the age of 70. Awardee Mosley was recognized posthumously during the annual Diocesan Pro-Life Leadership Conference in Toledo, Ohio, according to a press release issued by the U.S. bishops. Mental health advocates and pro-life groups have voiced concerns over a potential expansion of Canada's assisted suicide laws, which would let citizens seek lethal assisted suicide even if they don't have a life-threatening illness. Adults with terminal conditions were permitted to use assisted suicide for the first time in Canada in June 2016. The government said in 2021 that it would spend 2 years researching how assisted suicide can be provided based on mental illness. The administration postponed this action until the beginning of 2023. In Canada, there has been much debate over the planned regulation change. Opponents claim that the new guidelines will let people request and receive assisted suicide even if they are not close to death from a severe condition. If the proposed laws go into effect, then, by the middle of March 2024, Canadians who are suffering from a mental illness will be able to ask for assisted suicide. A train derailed close to Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, killing over 30 people, including women and children, and injuring over 100 others on Sunday. In northern Pakistan, the train derailed on its way to Rawalpindi. Rescue teams were shown on local television removing women, children, and elderly passengers from wrecked and overturned vehicles. At a political event in Punjab, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed his sorrow over the deaths and prayed for the souls of the dead and the speedy recovery of the injured. The Nineveh Bishops' Council, representing a coalition of Catholic and Orthodox churches, organized a protest this week to express the Christian minority's growing concern over the government's inaction in Iraq. The Bishops' Council of Nineveh highlighted in a statement their grievances, pointing out the unequal treatment of Christian rights. The statement highlights the community's mounting anxieties in the hope that the government will present real solutions, particularly following their return from being forcibly relocated. Their main demands include the preservation of the historical and cultural identity of the Nineveh Plains, the adoption of a fair electoral law that guarantees equal representation of all Iraqi citizens, the legal protection against attacks on Christian religious symbols, the consolidation and clear leadership of the security forces to ensure regional stability, and the protection of the interests of citizens. A Protestant pastor, his wife, and their 3-year-old son have been jailed in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh for holding a Sunday prayer service at their home. Police arrested Pastor Harendra Singh and his wife Priya Singh and remanded them to judicial custody on July 31st. They were accused of violating provisions of the Uttar Pradesh Prohibition of Unlawful Religious Conversion Law of 2021. India's most populous state tops the list among states where Christians faced increased prosecution. The couple was among 15 Christians, including 3 pastors, who were arrested and sent to jail in separate incidents reported from the northern state on July 30th. Reverend Franklin Graham will be making a return visit to the United Kingdom as part of his God Loves You tour, years after winning a legal battle against a venue that canceled his performances because it disagreed with his biblically based beliefs on homosexuality. Graham, who is president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, revealed on Thursday that the group's God Loves You tour will now include 2 additional stops, London and Glasgow. The new stops include the Excel London Convention Centre on August 26th and the OVO Hydro Arena in Glasgow, Scotland on June 22, 2024. The London event will feature musicians including 15-time Grammy winner CeCe Winans, 3-time Grammy winner Michael W. Smith, and Grammy-nominated band The Newsboys. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.